Okay, this is a section to do with the air quality around computers. Everyone thinks they're a piece of metal and it's not a problem. There's a few things to really consider. If you look at the devices on screen, think which ones use a lot of power, lots and lots of electricity. Okay, the computer. First of all, the computer has a power supply unit in it. That generally takes a lot of power. Even laptops nowadays have power supplies of 60 watts, which is quite high. Computer cases, you're talking 500 watts as an office one, 700 for a standard home game computer. So these powers can produce static electricity and cause charges. What happens is the dust gets attracted to it. So high voltages can cause dust to attract, the first thing. Then the CPU, as your people who do sound will tell you, there's fans in there that push things around. And inside the computer, it's not a smooth airflow. There's lots of little veins and different cards and cables in the way. And any dust in the can actually get caught up. That dust over a period of time will build up and eventually it starts coming off in slightly larger bits. And when you breathe it, it gets into your lungs. People who have particular allergies or asthma or other things, they will tell you it can cause massive coughing fits. So things to consider are about clearing away dust, making sure the fans are blowing somewhere where the dust won't cause a problem and are easily cleaned. That's the first one. The surprising ones, uh, modern monitors aren't a major issue. Old computer monitors used to also have very high voltages in them, and they used to produce the same problems as both the computer. You get the uh, problem from dust and just dust from the air being gathered and turned into more problematic scales. But they also suffer the same problem as another piece of equipment that's shown on the screen, because they had a very high voltage. The old CRT monitors used to run 30,000 volts. That's bigger voltages than a lot of the second level power lines bringing power to your house. Your house is on one system, which is at 220 volts, but to get the power to a transformer, the boxes with lots of little spiky antennae at the top that are connected to the power cables, they come in at about 10 to 12,000 volts, depending on which circuits they're on. These CRT monitors used to make 30,000 volts. That's a lot of power that generates problems for gathering dust and building up building up charge. Almost mentioned one there. One thing to consider is also static charge. The surfaces build up static charge, which helps attract build-in dust, and that's just things like air moving past them on metal surfaces will actually create a condition where the dust is attracted to the computer and then from there it is blown into you so that you breathe it. So a computer near you helps gather dust. Same thing with televisions, by the way. The one that people are really surprised though is if you have a laser printer. I'll start with the laser printer because we're still talking electricity. A laser printer has to use high voltages to melt plastic. They also need to create very high voltages to create a stable static charge for what you're about to print. So everything that you print on a laser printer starts off as little electrons being placed onto a piece of paper, which then attracts the ink to it. And that's done with a very high voltage. Then from that voltage, it then goes into something called a fuser, which again is a massive voltage to create a heater. and that heater melts the ink and makes it stay on the paper. So both of those systems can involve quite high voltages, and the voltages involved are large enough, similar to, they're not 30,000 volts, but similar to the CRT, they are large enough to actually break down various chemicals in the air and recombine them. And the output of one of those is something called ozone, O3. We used to try looking after ozone for the upper part of the atmosphere, but it's up to you to find why is ozone in a computer environment a problem, and then we just need to discuss what we can do to reduce these problems. In all of these, to reduce the problems with dust, ozone, gaseous things, try and have your computer and laser printer in a fairly open, vented area. It helps move any gases and dust away. Regular cleaning helps, and that helps reduce those problems. I forgot to mention the other problem with printers, and this also includes inkjet printers, is the ink. Both laser printers use a dust-based ink, and inkjet printers use little bubbles of liquid ink. And both of those are putting tiny particles into the air. And if you breathe them in large quantities, they can cause problems. So they are the concerns about using printers. The ink is being put into the air in various ways. And make sure when you clean these printers off, you do it in a wide, open, clear space, please. That's the end of the breathing one.